Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the stream. Welcome, Patel, Jorge, Raphael, and Hunter. Let us know what stocks you're watching. But, Tom, I see that Dogecoin is going crazy. What is going on? It's at 67 cents.
Yeah, this is insane. It almost broke 70 cents this morning, and I know everybody wants to see Doge over $1 by the end of the week, but it's an amazing runner. I cannot believe it's still going up all the way up to 69 cents earlier this morning at around 2 a.m. Central Time, and that's just insane to see. Right now, it's at around 67 cents. We're going to have to see what happens. It seems like it's having some chop right now at market open, but overall today, I'm expecting some more good movement out of it, especially with the hype starting to really pick up here.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome, Click. Welcome. I'm Fierce, and Tom, let's go. Let's cover what's moving. So, Nvidia is one of the largest movers from this morning. It is already up 2.5%, and it's rebounding a lot. Let's check out AMD too. AMD is, it's up around 0.3%, so it's not as big of a rebound as Nvidia, but it's definitely popping up. It looks like we have the market popping up a little bit, but overall, we are still downtrending like in the past 5 days. And one thing I want to note with downtrends is even if we look back in March of 2020, a lot of people think the market just fell straight down, but there were actually a good amount of green days along that downtrend, you can say. So I just want to point that out. Just because we have a green day today, it doesn't mean that the market downtrend is necessarily over, but I just wanted to point that out. We have the SPY up around 0.4%. We have the QQQ up around 0.7%. So it's making a pretty nice rebound. And then we have the Dow up around 0.08%. And the Dow didn't even really fall yesterday. Oh, you might be muted, Tom.
Yep, sorry, I had to go shut my window. The landscapers keep blowing the leaves outside, but but yeah, I was really waiting for that QQQ to kind of pop back up like it did today. That was a good thing to see. The SPY did pop back up, but it is starting to fall now at open, which is pretty interesting. I have really good resistance at 418 on the SPY. And a good intraday support today will be somewhere around 416.25 or just 416. I think that that's a great level. It bounced off of it a few times over the past few days, and overall, SPY's starting to look pretty good. It honestly started to recover up last night, which is pretty decent to see, as well as the QQQ. And like you said, a lot of these tech stocks are coming back up. Like we saw, we have AMD kind of gapping up this morning, as well as Nvidia. Those are two huge stocks. Let's go check out like Apple and Microsoft, and we can see Apple is really ripping back to the upside here, which is just amazing to see. We don't see this all the time out of stocks after they posted such terrible days yesterday. But man, Apple's really ripping up, and I was kind of expecting it to come up, but not this drastically here at open, especially with a lot of the other stocks kind of going red and the SPY going red as well.
Yeah, let's check out the SPY. So the SPY is a little red right now, but it's going to be hard for it to stay red if Apple keeps popping up like that. So that's one thing to watch out for. Tesla is trending down a little bit. We have Microsoft also trending up. So we have an interesting divergence this morning, but let's get right into these questions. So we have Raphael saying, good morning, happy Cinco de Mayo, MVIS ATNX. So yeah, happy Cinco de Mayo, MVIS, Tom. Let's check it out. I know it's been moving very volatile over like the past couple weeks. What are you seeing?
Yeah, microvision. Honestly, it looks like it's popping back up right now on the 1 minute chart. We might get some good like intraday volume come in and see this break pre-market highs. And look at this, it's starting to really run. If we break like 1580 to the upside, I think that would be a pretty good level. Looks like we're having some chop right here, but overall, very volatile movement. Like you said, I'm really hoping we can kind of pop back up and maybe head above that high of yesterday. If we go look at the daily chart of microvision, you can see how volatile it truly is. And, a lot of people were looking at this stock whenever it was all the way up here on $24, $26. And honestly, it might be a pretty good buy at support, but it's going to be a very risky, volatile stock to hold. Honestly, I would just day trade it very, very quickly, kind of like we're seeing here on the 1 minute chart. Like if it breaks above 1580, maybe get some shares and do a quick scalp really fast.
Gotcha. And then ATNX. So let's check it out. Wow, this one actually looks like a decent setup. So I'm glad he brought this one up. So it's
What's the
already
ticker
up.
again?
ATNX. ATN.
ATNX.
Yeah, so this one looks pretty good actually. So look at it like especially intraday. We can see it really started to run up in after hours and pre-market. And had a pretty strong resistance at $5, got rejected hard, then got rejected basically at $6 and pull back again. So it's making higher lows and it has some pretty clear resistance levels. So I see one resistance right at 560 and then a little bit of like at like 580 and then the major one would be at $6. But I think it looks like a pretty decent setup.
Yeah, it does. It is running up pretty nicely this morning. And overall, I mean, I've never heard of this stock, but it's up 47% from the close of yesterday. So, man, definitely some movement out of this one. But really, yeah, watch for it to hit 580. I think it can over the next couple of minutes. That's a pretty strong resistance, like Mike said. It has very defined levels. A good support down here would be somewhere around 480 and then $5 as well.
Alrighty, so guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. We have Michael saying, "Morning, guys. What are your thoughts on Plug? PLUG. Let's check it out." So it's actually coming very close to a support right at like $24. So if it can hold that, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I like other stocks a lot better, like NIO, Enphase, DraftKings, Palantir, a lot of other stocks like that. So it's not bad. I think it's a good dip buy at these levels. I'm not sure if they report earnings soon though. What is this event today? It says earnings on 5/6 before market. So it looks like they have earnings scheduled for tomorrow before open. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Tom and I don't really trade the earnings release, but as long as it can hold $24, I like it.
Yeah, and if it has bad earnings, I mean, don't be surprised if it falls below 24 the way we've been seeing the earnings season go so far.
For sure. And then let's see. We have James saying, "Do you like Apple for day trade or swing?" So here's the thing. So if we look at the SPY, we can see it is coming down a little bit. The first 7 minutes of market open has been relatively red. But then if we look at Apple, we're seeing a divergence, right? We saw it initially pop up. And the thing is and this is just my personal opinion, I hate to, like, for example, buy calls on, a stock like Apple when the rest of the market is selling off. So that doesn't mean it's a bad setup, but I hate going against like the overall market, especially on stocks that are that it have such a large influence on the overall market. So to answer your question though, if I were to day trade Apple, it would be a day trade for this scenario. But I would really like to see the market, moving with it. You know what I mean? Like I just hate to go against the trend, especially on stocks that have such a large influence on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we see Apple coming up. If we keep seeing these tech stocks and like Apple coming up, it's obviously going to drag the markets back to the upside. And that's obviously the main concern. And if we go look at these daily charts, honestly, Apple had such a good red day the past, 2 days or 3 days, I should say, since it hit, right around 139 in pre-market that day. But it is up slightly today. It still has not recovered all the way back up from yesterday, but it is looking pretty green. And man, I'm gonna be a little bit worried, about anyone like holding too many puts here or anything like that. I think it's gonna be a pretty big deal because like you said, the overall market is coming back up with all these tech stocks. And if we go look across the board, like Nvidia is starting to get green now as well. Let's go look at that one again. But oh wow, they're actually starting to go red, but they're still green on the day, which is good. I wonder if AMD is coming back. And no, yeah, they're still red. So I don't know. Let's go check out like Caterpillar, see how some of the Dow stocks are doing. Yeah, this one's actually popping back up as well. Some of them are moving pretty slow today, actually. But the main one, I think, is just Apple. I mean, that one's a big mover. I'm surprised like Microsoft isn't popping back up either, kind of like Apple is. Sometimes you see those move together, but man, it's just crazy day for Apple. Seems like that's the main stock to watch today.
Alrighty. What's
Really
some of
like it. Just broke the high of earlier this morning around 130 also.
Alrighty, so then we have Vicky saying, "How does UA look for day trading?" Let's check it out. So UA, I just want to pull up their options chain real quick. One thing I've noticed right off the bat is that their chain is not very liquid. So I'm at their chain right now, and the weekly chain, like the Yeah, it's not very liquid at all, honestly. Like the most liquid strike is the 21 strike call for this week, and there was only 200 contracts traded, and the spread is $15, and the option is only worth $45 itself. So no matter how good of a setup this stock presents, the spread is so large where it'll be extremely, extremely hard to day trade. So just because of that, I would cross it off the list as like a potential day trade candidate. But let's check out the setup anyways, Tom. So it is trending up intraday. Let's see. It's actually, is it breaking all-time highs? I don't think so. No, it's not breaking all-time highs. They do have a very big support at $20, and then their next resistance level is right around, what is that, like 23. So it's not a bad setup at all, Vicky. I think it's actually a pretty good setup, and they're an earnings continuation play. Just the main thing is that options pricing, and there's no volume on it, so it'd be extremely hard to trade. But the setup looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good breakout play. And honestly, they had earnings and then kind of tanked and came right back up. So interesting little setup here on Under Armour. But I would kind of expect them to keep going up out of this breakout. But like Mike said, it's going to be almost impossible to trade it on options. But if you did want to get some shares, I think that might be the way to go, given it's only $21 a share. And if it goes up to like 23 or 24 or even 25, I mean, that's going to be a pretty decent gain there.
Indeed. So with some of these other questions, we have Spacely saying BLRX. Let's check it out. BLRX. So it looks like it's down around 3% today. Oh, wow. That max weekly chart definitely looks a little bit scary. I don't know, Tom. What do you
Oh,
think about
reverse
this one?
splits.
Yeah, a lot of reverse. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. A 1 for 15 reverse split. That's never a good sign.
yeah, that's a pretty bad 1 for 15 is a pretty high number there, but man, it seems like I'm having some connection issues here. But overall, let's see, BLRX intraday, there's a pretty good resistance, I think around 4.60. It is bouncing off the 100 SMA intraday as well. Let's go check out the 1 minute chart, but overall, it's not a stock for me. I don't know what to think about it. It looks pretty bearish today. Looks like it's going pretty red initially off of open. So I would just keep looking at it to the downside. Maybe watch for it to bounce off of 450 where it hit a couple times in after hours yesterday.
Alrighty, and then with the next question, we'll welcome Justin, welcome everyone else who joined, Power, Smokin', Rock. With some of these other questions, we have Power saying, hey, have you guys covered GM today? So we have not. Let's check out GM. I saw it was running up a little bit in pre-market. Looks like they reported earnings recently, and their IV is around 40%, so that's not bad. I'm not sure if you're looking at this for like a long-term hold or just like a short-term swing trade, but I don't think it looks bad for that for like a short-term trade, Tom, especially with their news of that with their EVs. You know what I mean? I know we covered it a couple months ago how they're like making more of their cars electric. You know what I mean about that news?
Yeah, definitely. I heard a lot about that, and I'm trying to find a good article here about General Motors. But man, they more than doubled their EPS on their earnings today. We can see that they had a 2.25 versus a 1.04 expected, which is just insane. And the revenue actually was under very slightly. They were expected 32.47 billion. They were expected 32.67 billion, but they ended up 32.47 billion. So they did lose out a little bit there, but the EPS was awesome. And the good thing is that the good stuff, honestly, though, is that their profit targets for the year and that EV news is the big stuff. Like Mike said, the EV news with General Motors is what's really made General Motors move this year, along with Ford. And we've seen both of them also report earnings here. And it looks like General Motors initially went green off of earnings, which is awesome. And let's go back at Ford a few days ago, because I know that they had earnings, and we can see that Ford actually went down on their earnings. So just interesting to see the contrast between both of them.
Alrighty, so we have Ethan saying airlines are skyrocketing this morning. Let's check out AAL. Yeah, I mean they're definitely popping up. AAL is up around 0.7%. We have UAL up around 1%. So that's good to see. We have some strong volume coming in, so doesn't look bad. They kind of tanked off yesterday, but it looks like they're rebounding pretty well. And even though yesterday was a pretty bad day, these airlines actually held up pretty well. Like, I think a lot of other sectors fell a lot more, like tech, but I think they're holding up pretty well. And Ethan, I'm not sure if you saw the video from Saturday. I think it was titled the $217 million options trade. But someone put around $40 million into American Airlines call options. So, I just want to throw that out there because I know you were talking about airlines that might be interesting for you. But thanks for bringing that up. And then with the next question, we have Jorge saying Open is shooting up today, possibly due to good Zillow earnings. Open has earnings in 6 days. So let's check it out. OPEN. Yeah, maybe. I mean, Zillow, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really look into the situation too much. It could be because of Zillow earnings. Like I said, I didn't really look into the situation too much. But it's also only up around like 3.5%, which, especially for a stock with an 84% implied volatility, it's not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's a big move, but it's not like super crazy, especially for this type of stock. Like if Coca-Cola was up 3.5%, it would be a different story. But the IV is only around 84%, so to me, it just kind of looks like like regular market movement.
Yeah, same here. It just kind of seems like regular movement. It does have resistance. Watch out for around $20.50. It is passing above $20 right now.
Alrighty, so then let's see. With some of the next questions, we have Rock saying BNTX. So let's check it out. BNTX. So with BNTX, wow, it's pulling back a lot. I think we talked about this one. I don't know if it was in yesterday's video or 2 days ago, but wow, it's really pulling back. Yeah, I think it was yesterday's video, Tom. So it's really pulling back, and this is before earnings. Honestly, this would be no play for me. I would, yeah, I mean, to me, it's already up too much to like play calls on it. And then at the same time, if anything, like I would maybe sell puts on it. But it honestly, it looks like a pretty good long-term hold. But for the short term, it's not a setup for me. It doesn't mean it's bad at all. Like, Tom, do you have any thoughts on this one? Like, are you watching any levels for like maybe a day trade or anything like that?
Yeah, pretty crazy here, honestly, out of this stock. For a day trade, intraday, I mean, honestly, alls I would look at it for is puts. I don't think I'd play the calls on this one too much, but if it started going to the downside, I would look for it to pass below like 180 and then pass below 170. If it breaks below 170, that would be an amazing level to get it below, but below 180 could prove for a pretty good day trade as well. But man, that daily chart is insane. I saw Hunter actually talk about this one a couple days ago, and I could not believe the red day it had that day. I mean, it opened around like what 213 and dropped all the way down to like 172 within one trading day, and that's even before the earnings have came out. So just very volatile day overall, but it's just up so much year over year that I wouldn't even be surprised if it came back down to like 140. It would still be up a lot this year, even if it came down to 140. So that's a good thing to keep in mind also, is that some of these stocks are up so much that they can keep going down and still be up a lot for the year. Honestly, it'll still be up around like 20-30%, even down at 140. So
For sure. And then we have Muscle saying, hey guys, go long NVDA. So yeah, it's a powerhouse. I actually love NVDA. It just keeps rocketing up. Like I tell myself, all right, I want to get some shares, right? But it just keeps popping up. So I was kind of hoping for it to continue down so I could, sell some puts on it. But I sold some puts on AMD, and I'm looking at the ETF SMH. So I have my eyes on it, and at least I might get assigned on AMD. But looking at Nvidia, it is a powerhouse. They have a really strong support at 550, and then they have some resistance at 600. So it looks all right. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some consolidation for like the next couple days or so.
yeah, I'm more of neutral on it today. It's been very volatile the past few days. So honestly, like Mike said, I would not be surprised if it just kind of consolidated here in the middle of the range between that upper resistance around 600 and the lower around 550.
Alrighty, and then we have Matt saying, how do you feel about Facebook calls? So let's check it out. We have the SPY rebounding a little bit. Facebook is not looking bad. It's really not looking bad. It is getting closer to that high of day. They have a little bit of chop right around 321. Let me check out the hourly for some more resistance levels. Looks like we have more resistance right around $322.50. I'm just plotting this resistance on my chart right now. So yeah, $322.50. And then after that, we also have some resistance right around 325. And then after that, it looks like there's a little bit of resistance right around $327.50. So I like the setup. The only thing is that there is a lot of resistance overhead, so it might be a little hard to, it might be a little bit more like choppy movement rather than, straight up or down like we see with some of these tech stocks usually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I really like the bounce off of this like longer term blue trend line as well on the daily. I love the gap above it and then the pullback right on it. And now we're bouncing like right off of that. And it's just, that's a very good confirmation there. And I think this will honestly be a pretty good setup over the next couple of days, possibly back up to 330. But like you said, it's going to be very, very choppy on the way up with all of those resistances overhead.
Alrighty, Tom, let's check in on Doge. What's going on? So Doge looks like we're trying to move back up. I think it's great how it's holding like that 66 cent level, even 65 cents. I know the last time it ran up, it kind of just like ran up and then kind of just fell right back down. So I'm curious if we could hold these levels. Yeah, I mean, we could see when it tested like 45 cents, it touched it for a second, and then it retested, and it just tanked off. So I think it would be great for Doge if it can hold these levels, and I think we're seeing a ton of anticipation from Elon for this Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people are really wanting Elon to really pump this on Saturday night. And because obviously he's hosting Saturday Night Live on May 8th, which is this Saturday. And it's going to be a very interesting episode. You know, I don't really watch Saturday Night Live anymore, but man, it's going to be very interesting. I'm definitely going to watch it with Elon on there. But I really like Doge today. It's honestly setting up pretty well. And I really like it. I like the technicals on it as well. Normally, I don't like stocks or like cryptos too much, especially more of the meme things like Doge. But I really like the setup as of the past few days and the past few weeks. Obviously, it's been in some amazing movement, and it's kind of in like a good wedge formation right now. I think if we break out of this to the upside, it's going to prove to be a pretty good mover, and I think that that's the way that we're going to see this move out of this wedge. I don't think that we're going to see it break out of this to the downside here, especially with all the momentum that we've had, but it could always go either way. But honestly, if I was like day trading right now, I'd probably go long Doge and just have a really tight stop loss at like, 64, 0.644 or something like that.
Alrighty, so like you said, I don't really watch SNL, but I think I might have to with Elon
Yeah.
on there. So I think it's going to be good for Doge overall. Just one thing from a risk standpoint is I know everyone loves to say, oh, all in Doge. Just quick reminder, guys, it's always great to have risk management strategies in place. You never want to go all in, and always make sure to have stops and all that stuff. But let's get right back to the questions from the chat. And with the first question, we have James saying, I got the 128 call for 514, break even at 131.15. What do you think? So I believe he is looking at Apple. Let's check it out. So he said the 128 call for next week. So that's good. I really like how he's in the money and he has time. I think that is very smart of you. Looking at the movement, Apple's slowly breaking out, which is great to see. The SPY is just kind of lingering around. It's not really going up or down right now. So I like the setup. I'm not sure at what price you are in at. But overall, I like the setup. And as long as we hold these levels, especially on the SPY today, I think you should be fine.
Yeah, for sure. I think if we hold 416, that'll be awesome. It looks pretty bearish off of my SMAs this morning so far. Hopefully, it doesn't keep going down because 416 seems like a pretty good support here. But overall, I will say, given off my SMAs, it looks like SPY is starting to tick to the downside here. I'm not sure if we'll break the daily lows or not, but obviously we have a long way to go to the downside if we go back down to 412, which was the low of yesterday. And I really don't see that happening. Honestly, if we keep going down, I might see the low of today somewhere maybe around like 416 or maybe around the 1000 SMA, maybe around like 415.50 or somewhere like that. Looks like a pretty good support over the past few days.
Alrighty, and then with the next question, we have, let's see. With the next question, we have Muscle saying advice on Volkswagen VWAGY. So VWAGY, let's check it out. It's up around 2.5% today. Their daily looks pretty good, and I think this is a relatively safe play, actually. If we look at their charts, they have a pretty strong support right at $30 and then resistance right around 32.50. So I like it. It's relatively safe. One thing to watch out for is I'm seeing an event on Thinkorswim saying earnings on 5/6. I don't know if that's true or not, But because yeah, it looks like they had earnings on 3/16. So yeah, watch out for earnings. It's a complete coin flip. Their major support is $30. As long as it holds that, it should be fine. If it breaks below that, if you like the stock for the long term, selling puts can be great, but actually it doesn't look like there's any options on this one. So overall, I think it's a nice, slow and steady stock for the long term.
Yeah, this is honestly a pretty it looks good for the long term, like you said, but over the past few months, this is a pretty crazy setup, seeing it go from like, $23 all the way to 48 and back down to 31. It almost looks like Neo or something like that, honestly.
Alrighty, and then with the next question, we have Vicky saying at the T-Mobile, both day trading. So let's check it out. ATVI, it looks like they are doing pretty well today, up around 5% on good earnings. So that's awesome to see. I think it looks pretty good, especially for the long term. Their max weekly chart looks pretty good. They had a big dip in, what was that, 2018. But besides that, they've been a pretty safe, slow and steady stock. So that's awesome to see. And then if we look at TMUS, this one also looks pretty good. They're actually running on good earnings, and it looks like this one can actually be an earnings continuation play. They're up around 5% today alone, so I think it looks really good overall. T-Mobile is a little less volatile, which is good and bad, but I actually like them both for the long term.
Yeah, me too, and especially like T-Mobile, I think that those can be great, especially for like 5G plays in the future. I think T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, maybe some other ones could go up as well, but I think that those are the big players and they'll really take advantage of 5G whenever that starts to get bigger. And honestly, as the world gets bigger as well, it's just more phones and stuff like that. So I would think that, obviously in the future that these companies would do well. And with ATV, I mean, I really like ATVI as well. I know that they make Call of Duty and stuff like that. A lot of people play those games. I don't play them anymore as much as I used to. I used to be a very big Call of Duty advocate, but but it's definitely a very interesting stock. And I know that Call of Duty normally releases in November, and we can see generally in the wintertime, Activision does a little bit better, I think, than in the summertime. So just be a little wary of that. That sometimes they like to pump up on those game releases and stuff like that. So just look out for a little bit of news as well.
And then another thing I wanted to point out is like some of the like largest expected growth sectors over like the next decade. We have cryptocurrency, we have 5G, we have genomics, AI, and even like the marijuana sector. So T-Mobile does kind of fall in that 5G sector, so that can be great in terms of growth. And they're like a relatively like slow and steady growth, like growth stock, and at the same time, like their IV isn't too high either. So I actually like the setup, and I'm glad you pointed this one out. And then with the next question, we have James saying, have a charge point option expiration this Friday. Break even is at $25.75 from last week. Let's check it out. So the break even is at $25.75. So you're out of the money right now, so you're probably down on this. But ChargePoint is extremely, extremely volatile. Their IV is around 89%, so it can very easily pop back up. Overall, they are making higher lows, which is great to see, and they are popping up so far this morning. Tom, do you have any like levels or thoughts on this one?
Yeah, there is a little bit of resistance overhead. I think really watch out for like $24, which it almost hit today and then came right down off of. I think 24 is going to be a pretty good intraday level here. Overall, I think that's about all I'll really watch on Charge Point. I know that they had that huge float that got where the shorts actually covered, so that's a pretty big deal, I think. But in the longer run, like if we look at Charge Point, it's still pretty low given given its highs. I don't think it's still not a terrible time to pick up like shares or anything like that. But as far as those calls go, I really hope that we can see continued movement to the upside over the next few days. But I think it's going to be pretty hard to hit 25.75 by the end of this week. But this stock is volatile. It does move. So if we do see continued momentum today, then maybe we could see that happen this week. But like for example, if today ends up going red and we end up closing somewhere around like 22 or 22.50, I think the chances of you hitting like 25.75 are going to be pretty hard.
Alrighty, so then with the next question, we have L8 saying, can you check out NOK? Would you add NOK to your list of value stocks? Good to sell puts, question mark. So we know that we have a lot of people, especially in the Discord, who are pretty big fans of NOK. I've heard a lot about them, but I haven't I didn't dive deep into their fundamentals like a lot of you in the Discord have. So I'm not an NOK expert by any means, but I would consider selling puts on them. My problem with them though is like they're only like a $4 stock, so like it's hard to get any types of good premiums on them. So I would consider it. It would just have to be the right circumstances. And I think it's a pretty decent play overall. I don't think it's like an amazing play, but there are people who have done so much more research on this company than I have. So overall, I like it, and I would definitely sell puts on it depending on the circumstances.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing just to keep in mind, guys, is Nokia used to be really big back in the early 2000s. And if we go look at that, like that max weekly chart, they're down a lot, and it can create some good opportunities with it being so low. But at the same time, they did hit $1.63 back in 2012, and they could always do that again. But like Mike said, a lot of people have done research on their fundamentals, which I have not done. But just overall, like looking in a macroeconomic sense, it looked like they were really booming in the early 2000s. Nowadays, their phones aren't really there, and a lot of people in Discord say that Nokia really runs right now off of their patents and stuff like that. Apparently, a lot of people have to pay Nokia in order to use certain technologies that they've made and stuff like that. And that's what's really keeping them afloat right now. And also 5G in the future could also be a big play for Nokia, apparently, they're saying. And if that does happen, I mean, it is around $5 a share. And honestly, in the past, it was like $60 a share in the early 2000s. And I would not be surprised if it breaks like $5 to the upside, which has been a pretty solid resistance over the past couple of years. If it breaks $5, I would not be surprised if we saw a pretty good run, maybe up to like 650 or 7 over the next year or two.
Alrighty, and then with the next question, we have Matt saying, "Good morning, guys. Thanks again for doing this. Thoughts on T for July 17th? Spreads for 31-33, up 1K so far on the 40 spreads. So that's awesome to see. Thanks for that comment. So I think T looks amazing. We can see intraday today, it tried to fall, but the buyers bought it right back up, and now it's actually rallying. So that's awesome to see. It actually tanked all the way down to $31.80 this morning, but a lot of buyers came in. I like it a lot, actually. And I think those spreads can be great. I'm assuming that they are called debit spreads, but overall, I really like your setup, and I think you're choosing a great spread. The only thing I would maybe suggest is maybe moving that 33 leg maybe to 34, just to increase that profit potential. But always trust your own gut. But with everything, I really like the setup, and I really like how you're trading spreads like that. And then with the next question, we have Trevor saying, "Good morning. Have a look at XOM/Oxy or oil in general." So welcome to the stream, and let's check out oil. So Tom, what's going on with crude oil futures?
Yeah, it looks like it's up a lot from yesterday. It looks pretty interesting. We can see that ever since midnight last night, it's been pretty flat. But yesterday, around market close, it really recovered right back to the upside with the overall market, like the SPY, and just looks great. ZOM posted a pretty good green day today. It did dip it open, but like you said, a lot of those buyers came right back in, bought a lot of these stocks back up. So ZOM is back up. I'm sure Oxy has a similar open. And yeah, we can see Oxy did dip it open as well, and then also fly right back up. But huge moves today out of crude oil, and just very interesting sector overall right now with the market starting to reopen. A lot of people are saying that more drivers are gonna really cause a big spike in gasoline demand, which could raise the price of oil. So just watch out for that to start the summer. And gas prices have been getting pretty high as oil's been getting higher as well. So just definitely watch out, because we're getting into a lot of strange circumstances here. And I've been seeing a lot of like posts on Facebook and stuff. I don't know about you, Mike, but lots of people have been talking about the gas prices being pretty high.
What do you think of ExxonMobil chart, like especially on the daily right now? I think it looks pretty good, and I think I really wouldn't be surprised if we retest $62.50. They're slowly but surely coming back up there. They have been holding their levels very well, and I just like the setup right now.
Yeah, it honestly looks very good. The daily's great. I loved it off of this $55 support $54 support maybe. You can see it hit that a couple times. Now it's really starting to fly up. It does look like a great continuation play. I would rather get shares than calls on this, but honestly, it looks pretty good either way. And I think leaps could go a long way out of a stock like Exxon and Mobil, especially this summer with gas prices and stuff going up. That could really help them. And another thing to note is that ever since COVID happened, you can see their EPS on earnings started to go negative, negative 0.26, negative 0.15, negative 4.7, but now we're positive 0.65, which is pretty good. And they beat the estimate on those earnings. So honestly, I mean, look out because some of these might start recovering back up now that they're actually profiting once again.
Alrighty, and Tom, we have the SPY starting to slide down again. Not good. So it looks like the SPY is coming down. We just went from green to red.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, so it's looking a little rough. Looks like we have our next support right at $415. After that, we have another support right around $413.50. So be on the lookout for that. And then we have, let's see, we have Freddie saying there was a Peloton recall. So if we look at Peloton's chart, they're just getting absolutely smacked. They're down around 8%, and they're going lower every single minute. They're not looking good at all. Obviously, this news is not good at all. Yeah, it looks a little rough, even on their daily. And then they have earnings coming up too. IVs rising. Yeah, this is not a good sign.
Yeah, look at this. I drew this crazy head and shoulders pattern on this a long time ago, and I wasn't expecting it to kind of follow it and actually work out, but it looks like it might actually do that. So, oh man, crazy movement out of Peloton. That was some bad news they had with people getting hurt on their machines and stuff like that, but I didn't think it would necessarily cause this type of movement. But at the same time, Peloton, like I said, guys, I mean, some of these stocks are up so much still. I mean, over the past couple of years, like even if Peloton goes down another 10 points to $80 a share, even they're still up 117% from like April and May of 2020. So just definitely still a lot of growth over the past couple of years, even with this movement.
Alrighty, and then we have Power saying, I have the Chewy 81 strike call for 514, break even at $86.95. I think I am in trouble. So let's check it out. Chewy, CHWY. He said the 81 strike call. Yeah, looks a little rough. So it's at 77 right now. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much time left. It definitely looks a little rough. Let me pull up the probability of that option expiring in the money. So you have about a 27% chance of that option expiring in the money. So the odds are not in your favor. Yeah, it looks a little rough. What do you think?
Yeah, it does look a little bit rough. I mean, the stock is starting to look a little bearish. I'm going to be really worried if it falls below like the $75 support. That looks like a very key level. And man, we're getting kind of close to it again on the daily chart. So just be very, very careful. I don't know what to think about this stock. It almost looks like all the other ones, how they're trying to hold supports, but seems like that they all just they almost want to break them to the downside, but they're just having a lot of problems, lots of slow movement at the support. So just be very, very careful. If we break below that, I'm not sure how low we could go, maybe down to like 65, maybe $60 at the lowest.
All right, and then we have Muscle with a great question saying, what is going on with the ARK funds? I was all in, but not now, except for ARKG, which is the genomics one, because he believes in that fund. So if we look at these ARK funds, especially ARKK, which is their flagship fund, they're pulling back a lot. So they hit highs right around $160, and right now they're at $112. So this is definitely a sizable pullback. And there's a couple reasons for it. The first reason is Tesla obviously has a huge weighting in this fund, and Tesla has been pulling back a lot. But just a lot of their funds in general are holding a lot of high growth stocks. And, at the end of the day, the ARKK fund is up a ton over the past year and over the past 2 years. But the thing is Tom has their holdings pulled up right now. They're holding very volatile stocks like TDOC, Roku, Square, Shop, Zillow, Zoom, Spotify. You know what I mean? So a lot of these stocks are kind of tanking off. Like, I know I've been watching Zoom to the upside, and a lot of their stocks are just high growth stocks, and they're starting to pull back. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Sometimes these funds might pop 20% in, what, a month. And sometimes they might pull back a lot too. So it's just the nature of the beast. They're holding a lot of volatile, high growth stocks that happen to be pulling back right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just like you said, it's the nature of the beast. And even though that these stocks are pulling back, they're still up a lot, guys. Like if we go look at ARKK, I mean, even though it's down, let's say we go to May of last year and then go look. So if we go all the way to May of last year, ARKK was only $55 a share. Now we're at 112. So still like almost doubled since this time of last year. And still that's great growth out of ARKK. And personally, I'm with you. I put a lot of money into ARKX, which is the space exploration ETF. And this one I think is going to keep tanking. And, even though I put my personal money into there, I've still been telling people I think that it could still go down, obviously, and could take a pretty big hit this year because lots of tech stocks are still pretty high. I mean, we go look at Apple, Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, a lot of them were around all-time highs before this little dip that we're seeing right now. And that's definitely going to make ARKK and anything that's holding lots of tech stocks fall, of course.
Alrighty.
And that's just huge movement that we see out of the market.
All right, and then with the next question, we have James saying ATNX crazy volume to average short squeeze question mark. So let's check it out. He said ATNX. It does
Wow.
look, yeah. I mean, what's it up? 38%. Let me check its short float right now. I'm curious to see what percentage of the short of the of the short is float. So yeah, of the float is short. Oops. But yeah, so their short float is around 21%. Yeah, it definitely can be a short squeeze. What do you think, Tom? I mean, they're getting pretty close to that resistance right around $6. It definitely can be a short squeeze. I mean, their short interest is high, but it's nothing like GME or anything like that.
Yeah, crazy move today. I mean, failed to kind of break out at open here, so I'd be a little bit worried about it as we go on today. I'm not sure what to think about it with that failure to break out. It does look like it's going to start to go red here. It almost looked like it like triple slash double topped around 590 or 580 this morning. So just be a little careful with it. I don't know what catalyst made it pop like this, but this is a pretty crazy move.
Alrighty, and then yeah, so it's popping up a lot. It definitely has potential to short squeeze. Just one thing to remember is short squeezes are exponential. So the more people that talk about them, obviously the more the stock goes up, and then the more that these shorts have to cover. So if everyone starts talking about it, this thing can go to $10 or $12. Who knows? But if we don't like have that fire started, all of its potential will kind of die off. But with the next questions, we have Betty saying, "Hey guys, MMATF is merging with TRCH so it can be listed on the NASDAQ. After the merge, TRCH no longer exists. Does that mean the shorts have to cover, or how do the shorts carry it to the new ticker?" So it's a good question, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Normally what happens is, let's say you own shares in TRCH, right? And then they merge with MMATF. Your shares would you would just own shares of MMATF. So I would assume the same thing would happen with short shares. So literally if I was an investor in what is it? Yeah, in TRCH, and then that ticker became MMATF, I would just own shares in MMATF. So I would assume shorting would be the same way. I doubt that they would have to be forced to cover, but every merger is different. Sometimes you get some cash, sometimes you get shares, sometimes you get a little bit of both. And I would assume that this one would be an all share merger, but I did not look into it too much.
Yeah, I've seen it before where they give you cash and sometimes they even give you a little bit extra, which is pretty interesting. Sometimes they'll entice you a little bit and that's a pretty good deal sometimes, but sometimes it can be a bad deal. Just make sure you look into your circumstance.
All right, and then with the next question, we have, let's see. With the next question, we have Matt saying, Boeing puts or calls. I see the bot is calling out Boeing puts. So Boeing is down around 2% today. It looks a little bearish actually. IV is slowly starting to rise. I like it to the downside. I actually really like it. Their support is right at 226, and then they have a little bit of support right at 228.
Yeah, it is starting to look pretty good to the downside, like you said. Pretty good moves here. I like it a lot, especially if you can break this 100 SMA on the daily. I think that would be awesome. They have been pulling back over the past few weeks, so don't be surprised they keep going down. What do you say your support was at, Mike?
228 and then 226.
Okay, yeah, on a more of like longer term sense. I have a pretty good support around 220 or 215 below those.
Alrighty. And then we have, let's see, with the next question, we have Muscle saying, thanks, guys. Keep up the great content. So thank you guys so much for showing up to the stream. We really appreciate it. Thanks for asking questions and, supporting Tom and I. Thanks a ton for showing up to the stream. But let's see what's moving intraday. So it looks like we have Verizon trending up a little bit. Pfizer's doing pretty well. They're kind of close to their high of day. We have AT&T lingering around their high of day, while we have a lot of tech stocks like Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla pulling back a little bit. Let's check out the SPY. It's pulling back. It's kind of holding its ground, though. It's not like it's crashing or anything this second. The SPY is up 0.01% today, so not too much.
Ooh.
Not too much movement.
Yeah, look at that. The SPY bounced like right off the 1,000 SMA on the 1 minute chart. So we'll have to see what happens. I'd say if we could break that like 415.20 to the downside, it might start going down pretty good again, maybe to like 414 even, or even like 413. But very interesting movement today out of the SPY. I mean, it did pop up a lot last night. So just keep in mind that it could still keep going up, even though it went down this morning initially. If we hold these levels, I would not be surprised if it went up. But at the same time, with all the stocks that I'm seeing go red, I personally, I could see it keep going down, but we'll just have to see what happens.
Alrighty, so Tom, what are you watching for today? Like any top stocks or anything? I know MARA was on watch over the past couple days. It looks pretty good at open, but it's starting to kind of tank down. And it's not like Bitcoin or anything is doing bad. Like it's kind of holding its levels. You want to check out Bitcoin?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at this. Doge fell out of this wedge I posted to the downside, which is pretty unfortunate to see. So maybe that has a small effect on Mara. But yeah, let's go check Bitcoin to the US dollar really quick. And hang on. They always have all these weird ones over here on
What I always do is I just type in
TradingView.
BTC USD and then I just click the one from Bitstamp or Coinbase.
Okay, yeah, because I don't do it a lot on here. So
Gotcha.
yeah, let's go ahead and see. So 55,886 on, yeah, but let's see. Kind of a weird looking chart here.
Yeah.
Over the past few days, I mean, man, it really double topped at 59,000. I know we talked about that on the stream over the past few days. Kind of fell down. Man, really watch for this resistance at like 56,500, but yeah, I mean, it kind of has me scratching my head here as of why like Mara and Riot are down so much. I would have kind of, have expected them to go up, but I don't know the exact correlation between them and Bitcoin. But generally, whenever Bitcoin's moving the way it has today, we see Mara going up, not kind of tanking off like it is.
Alrighty, so Tom, let's check out Moderna intraday. They're kind of popping up out of nowhere. mRNA. I'm not seeing any major news on them right now. Yeah, I'm not seeing any major news, but they are popping. Something should come through pretty soon on Thinkorswim. But yeah, I mean, this might be a pretty decent day trade. They're popping up out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. Watch out for chop around 181, 182, but awesome levels here. I love the moves off the SMAs above the 1,000 is awesome. Looks like a very good formation intraday. Like you said, I really hope it keeps running. It looks like it might have hit like 181 and is now kind of consolidating a little bit. Just watch out for that. But overall, looks like a pretty good setup. And Moderna should be pretty good, especially with all the vaccine news and everything. You can see how much they've been up over the past few weeks. So hopefully they can kind of retest that high around like 190, which they bounced off of a couple times in the past. If they break 190 to the upside, look out for a pretty big move because it's got rejected there, like I said, a couple times.
All right, and then we have Mr. Moneymaker saying, "What's up, guys? Seth Q5 here from the Discord." So he's the guy that was really growing his account earlier in the week. Tom, he was a member of the day a couple days ago. He said Peloton is recalling all of their treadmills. So yeah, we covered this a couple minutes ago, but thanks for joining the stream. But let's check it out again, Tom. So I know that they were really tanking off. Like, what was it, like 20 minutes ago or so? They were actually hit lows of like $88.12. They're starting to rebound a little bit right now. IV is on the rise. and they have earnings pretty soon. So this one's getting really volatile. And especially like with the way earnings have been, we see these stocks report like good earnings and the stocks just tank. So if we see, Peloton fall on earnings plus this bad treadmill news, plus just the market being a little shaky overall, this might be a good like long-term dip buy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, definitely be careful though. I think it could keep going down. I'm not sure how low that Peloton could go, but once it fell below 100, I'm really looking at it to go down here. I personally think I could see it going all the way down to possibly like $80. And I know Mike likes to go really far out of the money whenever he does cash secure puts, which is awesome. So just keep that in mind, guys. Like you probably don't want to, be getting Peloton like at $90 or something. You might want to go a little bit further out of the money if you're going to sell any puts. But with shares, just be very careful as well, because with earnings, I don't think that the earnings could really make them pop at all, especially with this bad news, because honestly, I think they're going to have a pretty bad outlook for the next quarter now, because they have to recall all these treadmills, and I think they're going to take a pretty big hit over the next couple of quarters. But like Mike said, that's going to give a really good opportunity if they keep going down for a pretty good dip buy.
Alrighty, so yeah, I mean, some of their puts are up 90%, 280%, 500% today. Some of these weekly Peloton puts. So yeah, I mean, it looks decent. The main thing I'm looking for with this one is if it continues to fall, maybe like a dip buy for some long-term shares. Because like I said, they do have earnings pretty soon.
Yeah, and that's just a very unfortunate scenario that they're in, really. Too bad that this happened. I know a lot of people were pretty bullish on them around that $100 support. Just too bad that this had to happen to Peloton. I mean, I guess it's their fault for making a faulty product, but at the same time, just an unfortunate situation for all of the stockholders and stuff.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to say the least. But let's check out FCX. I've been watching this one for a couple months now, and it's just popping up very well. Nice slow and steady uptrend. I think it actually broke all-time highs today. Let me double check. No, it's actually not all-time highs, but they broke a pretty strong resistance at $40. And then after $40, their next major resistance isn't until like 43, you can say. So, they've really been popping up, and they look pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty good company. I mean, I just looked it up. It says that they're an American mining company for gold and copper, and that's pretty good, honestly. Gold and copper have done very well, especially copper. Do you remember the futures ticker for copper?
Slash HG.
Oh, slash HG. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, look at copper, guys, on the daily chart. Just great moves out of copper. And guys, I've heard that with the chip shortages and with tech and everything exploding, copper was bound to explode, because copper is used in so many of these electrical parts and stuff like that. That obviously copper would have to go up. Since the demand on it is going up so much with all the chip makers and stuff like that, especially with the shortages. I mean, that really probably made copper go up. It's almost like a situation like with lumber we're seeing, just high prices out of some of these commodities that have a lot of demand to them.
Yeah, let's check out LBS while you brought that up. So it looks like they actually hit all-time highs again today. It's just every day these futures just hit all-time highs. I mean, it's the growth is exponential. Like especially when you look at a longer-term chart of this, like slash LBS on like a max weekly chart, like it's just going straight up.
Yeah, let's go to the max. Oh my gosh. Yeah, straight up from that low around like $300 to 1600. And you can see that it did hit it kind of, back in like 2017, 2018, 2019, it kind of had like a pretty good uptrend all the way up to around 600, and then dipped back down to like at lows down to like 250. So you can see how volatile it's been in the past, and definitely volatile right now. This is honestly insane. I know that like I'm sure that some of the guys like in the movie, like The Big Short, Michael Burry and stuff. I mean, man, I'd be very interested to see who was starting to look at this for a short position, because I think that whenever lumber starts going down, man, I mean, these prices are going to crash pretty hard, and it would honestly be a pretty good play, I think. But the question is can you time it right, or can you have enough capital to cover the upside in the meantime till it does fall?
See, that's the thing. Like, if you wanted to short this thing at, let's say, 1600, like, you have to be prepared if it goes up to 1800 or 2000. Like, who knows? So, it's actually a really good position, and I'm glad you brought that up, because, you would think it would be a good short sometime soon, but, you definitely have to have some capital set aside to hold those futures contracts, because if it keeps popping, those losses can get pretty big. But one thing I wanted to talk about regarding lumber is the real estate market has been popping. Low rates have, spurred a lot of buying activity. Plus, they're having, like, the supply is extremely low. So the combination of a lot of demand, lower rates, and then lower supply, real estate market has been exploding. But the thing is a lot of new homes were, they use lumber, right? But since lumber prices are getting higher, like, it's causing the builders more money to build new homes, which is making, making real estate even more expensive for like the new supply on the market. So I don't know, we're just like in an interesting situation. Like, the real estate market has been exploding, by itself, but plus with these lumber prices going crazy, it's just discouraging new home builders from, one, like, even building a new home, because the price of lumber is what, like 3 or 4x over the past year. And then even if they do build these new homes, like, it just gets passed right on to the buyer. So it's just creating like a very interesting situation for the end consumer, like the end buyer of real estate. And while we're talking about like real estate, like, what's Lowe's and like what's Home Depot's doing?
Yeah, Lowe's is actually red today, which is pretty interesting, negative 0.38%. But I think Home Depot, yeah, wow, yeah, they're negative 0.38% also. But Home Depot did kind of gap up this morning, hit new highs of around 335.71, and then start tanking off pretty big. So I'm not saying that, obviously I'm not saying Home Depot is going to keep going down for the next few days, because God, I mean, it just goes up every day. But but it definitely looks pretty good. Possibly to maybe bounce off this support, maybe here around 330. If you see a pretty good bounce off that support, it could be a pretty good call opportunity to maybe buy a quick dip buy, maybe a quick scalp if it hits 330 and maybe pops up to like 332 really quickly. I think it could be good for a quick day trade. But overall, I definitely would not be longing the puts on this one yet, just given that the daily chart still doesn't look too bearish. If we start to see like a couple more red days and maybe some bad news out of the overall market or something, maybe it'll be time for Home Depot to come down, especially if we see lumber coming down. I think that might be the biggest deal. Like, if we see lumber really start to tank off, then I think it might be time to get some Home Depot puts, and that might be the play. Just wait for lumber and then enter in Home Depot, rather than try to get in early and try to guess the exact top.
We shall see. So, Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Yeah, we were talking about AAL this morning, and I have a really good level on this. There's a pretty good trend line extending from the very low at 825, just kind of following all these lows up here. It did kind of break below it, break back above, but you can see it's been bouncing off of this trend line a couple times over the past few weeks, and it recently just touched that, and now we have a green candle right after this. So be very careful. Mike said there was a lot of people buying up a lot of contracts on AAL and call contracts to keep in mind. So that's going to be a big mover, I think, over the next couple of weeks. Is if this could start to retest this $26 level, some of these calls are going to really explode. And given that we're on this trend line, I think I might grab some calls today, just to hold them over the next couple of weeks, because I think it might be a pretty good play, especially off this trend line. If we break right below it, just sell out really quickly. If we break $20 and, just have a pretty good risk, there's a pretty good risk reward here. We're right around 21.46. If it goes down to like $20.50, just cut it really quickly. But to the upside, we can move possibly up to 26. So just be careful. I think it could pose a pretty good level. And also, like I said, I love it that you could just cut it if it falls right below there.
Yeah, and then plus have some institution putting 40 million into in the money calls. That's always good to have on your side.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe the institution sees this trend line or sees a good bounce off support or something like that as well. Or hopefully they know the CEO of American Airlines. That would make me really happy.
Or they know that they're just going to be buying that stock up a ton, and it's going to, just drive the stock price up. Who knows? But we do know that they are putting like $40 million into the play, which is always great to see. And they are in the money calls, which, would make you think that the stock would rise. But overall, it's definitely on my radar. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. We really had a great time with everyone. Thanks for asking great questions. And we hope you have an amazing rest of the trading day. Other than that, we're going to have another video